Welcome back everyone to another Access video. Today we're going to look at a Chapter 2 grader, the electricity file that we have that we've covered in class, but here's the quick version of the video so that you can follow along without any interruptions. Step 1, as usual, says to download the appropriate file as required, which you should be grabbing from MyITLab. And that file is the grader electric utility Billings, so SR electricity HW for homework. Once you grab that file and save it with your last and first name, then you can move on to step 2. Before we can move on to step 2 as well, if you do get the enable content button, you need to click it, so please make sure that happens. Otherwise, you won't be able to work with the database properly. Step 2 says open the Billings cycle table in datasheet view. To do that, we double click it. Once we double click it, you'll notice it's in the datasheet view. It says in the last column, add a currency calculated field with the expression usage fee minus amount paid. Name it, balance due, and then save and close the table. This is for 4 marks. You need to go to the right side. You need to scroll down until you get to calculated field. From calculated field, you're going to choose currency. It will populate or pop up the expression builder dialog box. It is in here that you can actually do the equation. Creating the equation is quite simple. Double click usage fee. Minus amount paid. And now the fields have populated the expression builder. You can click OK. At this point, you need to change the name from field 1, and we need to change it to, in this case here, balance due with no spaces. So balance due. Don't be careful how you type this in. You don't want to make any mistakes. Press enter to activate it. All right, at that point, you're supposed to save and close the table. So we're going to click on the disk at the top, save it, and either click the X beside the open object or the X to the right, depending on your software. So step 2 is now complete. Step 3, create a new query in design view. Add both tables to the query. From the residence table, add the fields in the following order: account number, last name, and first name. From the billing cycles table, add these fields in order: cycle date, usage fee, and balance due. So in this situation, we need to go to create. Now notice it says query in design view. So we choose query design. Once you do that, it should populate a dialog box in which you can add the 2 tables to the mat here. Some systems will have the tables show up on the right. It depends on what version of the software you're dealing with. In this case, I just need to double click billing cycles and double click residence. Now both tables are available to create the query. I'm going to click close now since I have them there. Once that's out of the way, I need to look at the residence table and add the following fields in order. So residence table, they need account number, last name, first name. And that's done by simply double clicking on each one. It now says go to the billing cycles table right here. These ones we need cycle date. We need, and it did it twice because my mouse is broken. Not to worry, just get rid of it. Cycle date, usage fee. So I'm gonna go down here. Usage fee. You could also drag this so you can see them all. Usage fee and balance due. And so I got to verify I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns as they are asking for. Step 4 says to add criteria so that only the cycle dates between June 1st, 2018 and June 30th, 2018 will display. So what we need to do is we need to get down to the cycle dates area. Then we need to put in the criteria, which in this case is between, and it says June, so 06/01/2018 and 06, I think 030, or not 030, but 30/2018. And when I tab outside of that criteria, you'll notice that the system automatically formats it for us so that you can see the cycle dates. So that's step 4, that's 6 marks. Step 5, it says to add criteria to the balance due column to further filter the query results. Balance due values must be greater than 1 or the cell is to be empty. And so what they're saying is that they want you to add a secondary criteria here in the balance due field. So they asked for greater than 1, space, or space is null. So is null represents empty cells, and this is obviously greater than 1. So that's what that's asking for in step 5, and that is worth 8 marks. At this point, for 6 marks, they're asking us to save the query with the name penalties query. So for 6 marks, all we need to do is we need to go up here, click the save icon, and then give it the proper name. And in this case, it is penalties query. And I've warned everybody, be very careful, because if you spell it wrong, like I just did, and I do that all the time. Let's see here, we're going to go penalties query. If you spell it wrong, it's going to dock you marks, and they are marks that are basically wasted. So we got to triple check. I had to do it, and I still make mistakes even after I warned myself numerous times. I'm going to click OK. Perfect. So now I've got the penalties query. It's set up here. And now we can move on to step 7. Step 7 says, in the first blank column, add a calculated field with the alias is penalty, and the expression should multiply balance due field by 0.2. Change the column's format property to currency, run the query, and verify that 4 records display. Save and then close the query. So that's a lot going on there, but we take it step by step. So first step, let's get over here to the first blank column, okay, which is right here. We're going to add a calculated field. In this case, I'm going to go Design tab at the top, and I'm going to use the Expression Builder option here. Once I do that, it's going to pull up the dialog box for us. And what we've got here is we need to take the balance due field, so we're going to double click it, and it's going to be multiplied by 0.2. And then we can click OK. What happens is it's going to provide you with an expression 1 here. This is where we're going to give it the alias. And the alias is going to be penalty. Like so. So penalty with the colon, and that looks really, really good. We've got to format it as currency. So to do that, we need to go to the property sheet. Format needs to be set to currency. And so just a heads up, just from some feedback from students, some of their systems, for whatever reason, they've assigned it to currency, but the MyITLab software marked it incorrect. That is a system issue. If you've done it in this fashion, in this process, it should be fine. If you do lose some marks, then obviously notify your instructor so that they can go in and verify that it was done correctly. And so that's that. It's now set to currency. Now I'm going to run the query, which is Design tab, the Run button here. And I can then verify that, 1, there are 4 records, which is what we see here. We could also verify that it is greater than 1, like it's supposed to be, or null, which it is here, and the date range is absolutely perfect. Keep an eye on your formatting on your dates. Each machine formats dates a little bit differently, so it's very, very important that you verify it. As you can see, my system has the good and proper dates, and you could also see that currency has applied. And for some students, it doesn't, and that is something to do with the system. Not quite sure why that happens. Okay, so just keep an eye out for that. Once you complete step 7, they want you to save and then close the query. So again, we click the save icon at the top, and then we close the query so we can move on to the next step. Step 8 is asking us to create a simple query wizard. So instead of using design view, we are going to use the wizard that they have in the system for us. So we're going to go to the create tab again, but rather than the design, we're going to choose the query wizard. Once we choose the query wizard, we choose one from the 4 that we have as an option. We are only dealing with simple query wizard. And click OK. At this point, it's going to provide you with tables and queries in which we can grab fields from. The question in question 8, the instructions say, from the residence table, so not billing, but the residence table, we need to pull the following fields in order. We need account number, we need last name, and we need the first name. It then says, switch to the billing cycles table in this order, so billing cycles. And at this point, we need to choose usage fee, and then we need to choose the cycle date. So we should have 5 fields in total. It says to accept all other defaults and make sure to name the query correctly. And I made a mistake in this in the past. So we're going to go next, accept, next, it's good. Here's where you got to be very careful. The name that they want us to give this query is resident, not residence. So resident, and not query, but statistics. And where I made a mistake is I left the S at the end of residence when I wrote statistics, and it marked me wrong, and I lost marks again for no reason at all. So once you've done that, you can click finish, and you will then get a new query generated based on the wizard. Here's what they want you to do next. Next, in step 9, they say set the resident statistics query to sort the last name column in ascending order. What people tend to want to do is they want to just go over here to last name and then just sort it here. But I will warn you that the instructions don't tell you that you actually need to do this in design view. And so it's something that you need to learn through experience, and make sure that you remember that when you're sorting information in a query, it should be set in design view. So the next time you open the database, it should work flawlessly. So to get to design view, there's many ways. You can go to the home tab and switch to design view, or you can right click on and you can go design view here. So once you're in design view, then you can then choose the sort option here under last name. So sort and ascending. Once that's done, that will be permanently set this way. So that is step 9. Step 10 says display the totals row and group the totals by account number, and then change the last name, first name, and cycle date total cells to first in its class. Change the usage fee total to cell to calculate the average for each group. So in essence, what we want to do is we want to figure out what the average usage would be, and to do that we need to add the total row. As you can see, it's not here. To do that though, it's quite easy. In design, table or query design, you can click the button here that looks like auto sum, and when you click on it, it's going to give you that total row in which we can actually do what it's asking. First of all, it wants all results grouped by account number. This is perfect. That's what it's set to. But then they've asked us to change this to first, and to change this to first as well. So first in its group, and the cycle date also to first in its group. What we need to do is put a calculation in the usage fee. So this is all set up nicely. Here they want average. So we're going to change it. not a group, but we're going to change it to the average. So this is the only one that's going to get calculated, which is more than fine. Okay, so that's what we're looking at doing here. In step 11, they've asked us to change the last name caption to last name with a space. As you can see, there's no space here. That's what a field would look like on the back end. On the front end user experience, you want to have a space. So it's quite simple. You click on your last name field. If your property sheet is not open on the right, then you just simply click the property sheets button on the ribbon. So at this point, last name is here, caption is blank. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to change it based on what it's asking me. So end users will see this, database designers will see this. It's very common that we change these. First name, I move over, caption is empty. I'm going to do it again, first name. Okay, and then it also wants us to change average fee. So we're going to go to the usage fee here. We're going to give it a caption so it makes sense. And this one's going to be called, so I just want to make sure I'm in the right one. Yep. I'm going to go average fee. But not only that, they want us to change the formatting again to make it a currency. So right now format's blank. I'm going to change it to currency. All right, and everything else looks like it stays the same. Step 12 says, in the cycle date column, add criteria so that only records before July 1st, 2018 display. And then change the settings so that the column will not display in the query datasheet. Then run the query and verify that only 40 records display. Save and close. All right, so that's a lot again. So basically, we're looking at this field here, and they are trying to pull only records from before July 1st. So that would be less than, and then 07 in my format, 01 in my format, and then 2018. Again, I just say in my format because you need to verify that your date formats work the same. If they don't, just make sure it's properly set to July 1st. And so I'm going to press enter. And what happens is the system's going to automatically put in the hashtags for us, so we're in good shape. And then from there, I'm going to do the last step where I need to uncheck this so it does not show inside of the query once it's run. So I'm going to run the query now, and I've got 40 records, which is absolutely perfect. So we are in good shape. And the date is not showing, which we did not want it to. So you should only have 1, 2, 3, 4 columns, just like that. They want us to now save and close this query. In step 13, they want us to actually work with a query that has been already designed for us in the system, which is kind of nice. So we're not actually building one, we're going in and modifying. Step 13 asks us to add criteria to the data errors query so that the duplicate records of Ralph Thompson with an E and Ralph Thompson with an O will display in the query results. It says in the last name field, use a wildcard character that represents any single character. So what I've told the group this morning was that a single character is represented by a question mark wildcard. If it was multiple characters, it would have been a star or an asterisk, but it is a single character. And so we need to use a question mark. And then it says to also put in a criteria of the first name to only accept records for Ralph. So not any Thompson, it has to be specifically a Ralph Thompson. So let's go in there and do it. So first of all, we need to right click on the query and go into design view so that we can add criteria. Once we have the data errors query in design view, now we can go in and we can change or add criteria to the query. In this case, we need to find something that is like, in quotations, Tomp, and I got to be careful how you spell it, Tomp S, and at this point, you're going to put in your wildcard because it can be either an O or an E, and verify it, like Thompson or Thompson. There's your wildcard. it said in the first name, it needs to be Ralph, specifically Ralph only. And so now what you're seeing here is the reason we use like is because it could be more than one result. It could be more than one name. It could be like either of those two. This one doesn't say like because it is specifically Ralph. We're not looking for like Ralph, and then I don't know how you would make Ralph any longer, or Ralphie or something like that. It's got to be specifically Ralph. And you just confirm that your spelling is correct. And then from there, in step 14, they want us to add a second query. So this one says not second query, but a second criteria. It says in the queries or row, add a criterion so that any record with an empty electrical usage cell will display in addition to the two records from the previous step. So basically, they want us to pull a query and give us results that are going to show us either the two Ralphs that are in the system, or, and we're going to go down to the or here, it says electrics usage that is empty. Okay, so we need to then type in, and we know this already, that we need to type in, if it's empty, it's got to be is null, right? So is null. And that is the coding that tells the software that if there's anything empty, this is the one we need to use. So at this point, what we can do is run the query, confirm that there are only 4 records, which it does say. So step 14 says, ensure there are only 4 records. And it also says that it should be either Thompson's, which they are, or if the usage is blank, which it is. See, it's empty here. So that's what gives us our 4 records based on the criteria. I hope you enjoyed the lesson and this video. And of course, if you have any other questions, feel free to contact me through email and we can work through any issues you have. Have yourselves a great day. Thank you very much.